Now. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the 4DMethod user group. Today is March 22nd, 2023, meeting number 63. We're getting a little bit of a late start to the year, but got everybody a little break for January and February. So welcome. Thanks for joining. Today on the agenda, I'm gonna do my usual song and dance about the 4DMethod user group. Talk about the upcoming presentations, some exciting stuff coming down the pipe here. Kirk will talk a little bit about what's been going on in the 4D happy hour. We'll get the news from 4D from Ricardo Mello. Jim is not available to join us today, but Ricardo is going to handle that for us. We'll talk about some highlights from the 4D blog, from everything that's happened in the past few months on the blog. Ad will take us through a couple of the recent tech notes in the knowledge base, and then we'll get our special presentation from Tim Nevels about integrating with Twilio. So again, welcome to the 4DMethod user group. This is Brent Raymond hosting here. That's me. Our website is at 4dmethod.com, and I can be reached at 4dmethod@gmail.com. I organize the user group and try not to do too many presentations myself, in case everyone will get bored. A lot more of exciting stuff going on out there in the community. And some real great presenters in all of our meetings. What we're trying to do here is just to bring together all the 4D users and developers out there in the world. We do all of these over Zoom. They're all recorded and available. Years and years of these meetings and demos and presentations are available in the 4DMethod YouTube channel. And what we're just trying to do is provide fresh new content and exposure for all the developers, 4D developers and users of 4D, to show off their development work and their applications and what role that 4D is playing out in the world. I'm always surprised every time I hear someplace new that 4D is being used in major ways that that you just didn't know about, and all of a sudden you find out this whole entire operation that you were familiar with but didn't know how it was being run is actually a 4D supported operation. So it's really neat. I always find it interesting to see what's going on out there in the world with 4D. So I invite you to be a presenter yourself. Anyone out there who has tuned into this, either live or on YouTube, this is just a great place, friendly group, easy place to just, anything from a 20-minute screen share to, getting in depth about code. It's just a really nice place to demonstrate either your application or your coding chops. We've got some really exciting presentations coming up this year. On May 10th, we have a surprise topic from Thomas Maul in 4D Germany. Even I don't know what the surprise is, but I don't think any of us will be surprised that it's going to be good. He always does some really incredible demonstrations for us, and pretty much presentation for presentation, I've found them all useful and have deployed code that he has shared one way or another. So that is just certainly going to be something to tune into, if for no other reason, to ask questions directly to Thomas Maul, head of, I believe it's engineering, the engineering 4D engineering product development. Ricardo can correct me for all of my mistakes here, or Tomas when he comes. But yeah, and with V20 around the corner, this is sure to be a great spotlight and glimpse of all the great new capabilities in the next version. So don't miss that one. And also don't miss June 21st. We'll have our own Tiran Barus. He's a Patreon supporter of the 4DMethod group at the organisateur level. And again, butchering the French language. Apologies, but he's going to give us a little presentation on how to design a rule engine, basically enforcing business rules within your application using ORDA and object fields. So that'll be a really neat topic, and sort of a best way, some success stories of how to deploy all of the new functionalities that we've been given over the past few years, and creative ways for running your business, how to do it right. So, and then later in the year, we have an open date, currently August 2nd, and all of the dates after that could be you. So again, this is your group. Feel free to shout out a topic, and or we can help to develop one together to show off some fun stuff for the community. You can see all of our schedule at 4dmethod.com/schedule. Right, so now just a little other review of what's been going on with the 4D Happy Hour. That's a more frequent meeting than the 4DMethod user group meetings. They meet once a week, and it's organized by Kirk Brooks. So hey, Kirk.
Hey, Brent. Thank you for the opportunity, and hi to everyone out there. I see a lot of familiar faces, and in fact, Tim Nevels is a frequent denizen at 4D Happy Hours. So feel free to drop in this Friday if you want to discuss his, and Tim, forgive me for just inviting people to come talk to you about your presentation, but I hope you won't mind.
I only talk to people if they make an invitation.
So as Brent said, and as I know a lot of you know by now, because I've seen so many of you there, 4D Happy Hours every Friday afternoon, 3:30 Pacific Standard Time. I put the Zoom link in the chat if you want to bookmark that, and then I have a modest little website to also give you the link there. It's a place to come when you've got a problem, you've got something you want to talk about or get some opinions on. Always happy to have opinions and share opinions. It's a place to come when you want to show something off, just have done something cool. It's pretty much the only place, aside from bumping into people in a bar, where I think you can come and just talk about the business of being in 4D. If you're trying to be a developer, or what it's like being a developer, who's got work, who's looking for work. A number of people have gotten work, through connections made. Just talking to people, because in our community, this is a community that it's really all about connections, because it's not a big one, but it's a very tight one. And as Brent alluded to, and as I always like to point out, it's very informal. We don't perhaps we should have an agenda, but we pretty rarely do. So there's a lot of opportunity for give and take, and and of course hopefully just enjoying some camaraderie as well. So I invite you to stop in. Please do, and it'd be delightful to see you there. Thank you, Brent.
Thanks, Kurt. Yep. As we all know, business is all about network, and all of these meetings and get-togethers are just great opportunities to extend your network, get to know other figures who do the same thing that you do, and who share a lot of the challenges, and be able to just chat with them in person, and on a very informal basis, and even just shout out some of the things that you're dealing with, and get some free IT support with a with a beverage of your choice. So
I'd love to join, but it's simply too late around here when it starts.
I know it's a problem. It's a problem. We had to pick some place. It's not, it's too early for the guys in Australia. It's too late for the guys in Europe.
Yes, I know.
I keep trying to move the time zones. They're just not listening to me.
Yeah. as they say, you know, it's always happy hour somewhere. So I'm sure that Kirk would be willing to franchise out the happy hour Zoom calls, and I think the best case scenario would be if there would be other happy hours in other time zones. I mean, that would be neat. Yeah,
I support that.
yeah. Even when it's during a good time, Friday at you know, after work hours. Sometimes that doesn't always work for everybody. I find it sometimes difficult because my family wants me to cook dinner and such things and that. So it's you know, hey, if there were other happy hours, I think that'd be a lot of fun. So anyways, thanks, Kirk. Thanks for the update, and thanks for organizing that. Great opportunity for everyone here. Right, and now handing it over to Ricardo Mello to give us a little bit of news from 4D and see what's going on, see what's coming down the pipe with 4D. Any sneak news, things you can tell us that we don't know from normal channels?
Let's go. Hello, community. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
I guess, yeah, right. Yeah, let me start first, Brent, to thanking you and the entire 4DMethod community for giving us this opportunity to connect and share those exciting news with you. It is truly an honor to be part of such a passionate and dedicated community. And make no mistake, we value this relationship we have built with you over the years a lot.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
And today having Tim as the speaker is also a treat. I'm very excited to see the Twilio integration. And I'm here to cover our beloved Jim, but Jimmy will be back the next 40 meeting, so don't worry. I'm not going to take his place. So firstly, I'm thrilled to announce the release of 4D v19.6. You guys saw that already. Which is packed with exciting new features that I'm sure Brent will discuss a little bit in this meeting. But additionally, I want to make a point that we're excited to announce that the V20, it's almost there, it's around the corner, and it has new OS support. However, please, the whole community here, note that will not run Mac OS Catalina. And upgrading to Big Sur is recommended for security reasons. Also, you know, be aware that for DV20 will no longer be certified for Microsoft Server 2012 R2 to its end because you know, they're not supporting anymore from October 2023. So that's the first one. I know you guys are already pretty much aware of that, but just to make a point. Secondly, it is about the summit. So I'm pleased to share with you that the summit will take place on the 3rd and 4th of October, 2023. So I start to save the date there, but we are finalizing an unbelievable location. I think it's going to be phenomenal. We are just signing the contract, so I cannot yet tell you where it's going to be. But next week, we'll be sending a save the date email for you with all the information that we have that you need for the event. And, you know, it's going to be one of a kind, especially after having to cancel Chicago, and, you know, do it in the pandemic. So we're preparing something very special for you guys. So next week, you will all know, but you already know the dates. Okay. And just to finish, I want to make this brief. We have an exciting announcement about that our professional service has developed something very interesting about mirroring. Okay, we have now a component that takes 2-minute snapshots of client data and automatically integrates that to a cloud or a premise or an on-premise location. And we can also help with the architecture of the solution, especially on the cloud side, if needed. So we'll be sending probably next week or the beginning of April an email with all the details that you need to know to start that journey. But if you are, if you are interested, you can also contact me directly. I have been involved with both projects that we have implemented with great success. We have already clients using. It's really exciting. Mirroring something that it's important, and we see that a lot of the communities is kind of have sometimes mission critical applications that are only supported by backups, which is great, but having some mirroring can help a lot of you folks out there. And that's all. Thank you again, and keep the good work. You guys are unbelievable. Back to you, Brent.
Thanks, Ricardo. So we heard it here, October 3rd and 4th. Is that correct for the US or for North
That's it.
America or the Americas? And is there also a date set that you could share for Paris? We had a couple people in the chat asking about that.
Yes, I do have. Let me just check just to make sure that I have those dates, and then I'll just post here in the chat. Would that be okay?
Of course.
Perfect.
Yes. And that's exciting to hear about the mirroring service. The mirroring that 4D offers with 4D server with the journal files is a great solution in general. We do that at the Art Institute of Chicago, and that's a real nice way to support installations out there, is to offer mirroring with that method in the cloud. So interesting. Also had a question from Tim. Does V20 require Big Sur, or will V20 run on Catalina? I think the answer was Catalina is no longer supported, right?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. And there is a blog post that talks about what the most recent blog post actually talks about what OSs that will be supported for version 20. Right. And looks like there's also one more date to share that's being shared in the chat, that the German DevCon will be on November 14th. So it looks like all of the dates are starting to get finalized. I expect that would be in Munich. And my invitation is in the mail. I expect that too. It's that would be fun, but yeah, it's just nice to see that all of these that we're actually getting in-person conferences, in-person summits now back, and it'll be nice to see all of you in person again, and see presentations in person, be able to just ask questions live and not over Zoom. Oh, okay. The German DevCon is in Esching, nearby Munich.
Brent, 17, 18 of October. Paris.
Okay, 17th or 18th of October. All right, so everybody mark your calendars. We've got at least Paris and Munich to go to, and someplace in the Americas. Location uncertain. Unfortunately, weren't able to have it here in Chicago. That was going to be glorious, but maybe one day, maybe this one, I don't know, but we'll see. All right, anyways, thanks for the news, Ricardo, and it's always good to get the inside scoop here in these meetings, so much appreciated.
Thank you.
Right, and as far as 4D versions, I always like to highlight some of the recently released or the releases that will be happening soon. I think that V19 R7 was released around the start of the year, so we should be getting V19 R8 coming out in the coming week or two or weeks. And R8 has, again, continues the parade of great features that have come out in V19. Among them, a customizable system to control data access. That looks very interesting and very flexible. You can set up a sort of a matrix of user types and users and what parts of the your data store that they have access to. It's very you can set up some very what's the word I'm looking for, but very full-featured data control access there. We'll also get automatic row height for list boxes based on collections and entity selections. Previously, that was only available for array type list boxes, but now you can also use that for all of your newer development, including collections and entity selections. That's great. I intend to use that myself. And then this is also interesting. They're making available a new component supported by 4D called Build 4D, with the intent of focusing on continuous integration, so that you can use this component to generate your compiles, your built structures, your built clients through code. So currently we also have the XML document for building using a sort of a script or a recipe for your compile. This is going to make it a lot more flexible and a lot more interesting for more complex server preparations and whatnot, application builds. So that'll be neat in R8. Again, we also get a few more other code features like the global error handler. Previously, up until now, each process had to have an error handler assigned. That's still possible, but you can also assign a global error handler. The 4D NetKit component has been updated with new features for working with the Microsoft Graph API. That's specifically, I think, for working with more capabilities managing email mailboxes. We have more features in 4D Write Pro, which is just again, a whole separate channel of great features coming out for having floating text boxes, over 60 new predefined View Pro themes. You can also make your own themes. And then also an extension, an updated extension for VS Code, writing 4D within VS Code, Visual Studio Code, I think that's what it's called, or yeah, I forget the name exactly, but what it offers now is autocomplete when you prefer to code in VS Code instead of the standard development environment in 4D. And also a new testing option for testing Windows STI mode without actually compiling and building your application and then testing. So that will really help to shorten the development testing cycle, quality assurance cycle for people who deploy in SDI mode. So great stuff coming out in R8. A lot of it's listed in the beta. Most of these items have dedicated articles in the blog themselves. Speaking of the 4D blog, here's a few highlights of about articles that have come out since the beginning of the year. One of the things that I have been asked about, and I know people have talked about who are just starting with 4D, is what about the beginners? You know, there's a lot of great content out there for more advanced development, but sometimes you know, people who are just starting with 4D or haven't seen the features develop and come out in our versions over time, you know, just need somewhere to start. So there's a great rundown and a great series of articles on the blog for learning Orda from beginner to expert levels. Awesome. There's also a full tutorial set of articles for doing 4D for mobile. my southern roots are showing. But 4D for mobile, that is fantastic. I think a lot of us are figuring out how 4D for mobile can work within our industries and whatnot. It's just an incredible amount of functionality that they've given us for automatically one-click generating of iOS and Android apps directly out of 4D that connect to our data source, our servers. So there's a whole series of ongoing tutorials for working with 4D mobile. And also another great article talking about a tailor-made native app placing orders with 4D for mobile. And that's just, it's an online store, for instance, using 4D for mobile. So it's just, it's all out there. You just have to step through the tutorials and hook it into your own project, and away you go. Previously, it was a little bit more work making mobile apps, but now it's about a whole lot easier. Again, an article talking about the automatic row heights, the VS Code extension with code completion, building your compiled structure component with Build 4D. Again, that's the new component coming out in R8. So just if you have any interest or any curiosity about what kind of new features are coming out, the blog is where to go, and then chat about it here in the happy hour or in the forum. So anyways, and you can also stay tuned in the knowledge base. Before the blog, this was the place to go, and there's always really great content, tech notes and tech tips coming out from Ad's team, and Ad's here to just highlight a couple of the recent tech notes that have come out in the knowledge base. Hi, Ad.
Hi, Brent. Hi, everybody. Good to see all of you again. So just to tag on what Brent just said earlier, so in terms of the content level, we try to produce different variety of level, including beginners as well, on the knowledge base. And our team are not just a US team. This is one of the example. We have a team from Moroccan team from Morocco that has been helping us throughout the years. I think for 4 or 5 years now, in terms of tech notes production, as well as the French team. So we have a variety of knowledge that come from different parts of the world. That's always great. So for this time around, I would like to highlight the 2 tech notes that we published last month. As always, we try to publish towards the end of the month. Very possible third week is the ideal. Otherwise, it'll be the 4th week. So these 2 tech notes came from last month. So the number one, the first one is the hands-on practice with XPath with 4D. So as we know, XPath in 4D has been around since version 11, nothing new, except that we have made some changes to the implementation to make it more streamlined with the way that the path notation, recognition works. So initially, we had the XPath that is strictly absolute, right? So with the new implementation that we introduced, we have introduced the relative path concept into the XPath feature in 4D. So there's a number of things that you will have to adjust and understand. But I think with the new implementation and with some of the example with this tech node, you shouldn't have any issues understanding. It's pretty self-explanatory. The difference between absolute and relative, except that the way that it has been used inside of an application since version 11 has to be kind of retrofit a little bit. So this tech notes kind of cover all of those areas. So hopefully it will be a pretty easy transition for you guys to move to. The second tech note, this is from one of our own, which is Cheyenne. She is one of our newest addition to the team. And in 4D, there are a number of ways to generate or access a document. In the past, we've used something like blob to document, document to blob, read in and read out, or text to document. So starting in version 19 or 7, we introduced a new file handles that allows you to access and generate or read documents in a more elegant way. We're trying to move towards dot notation these days because it allows you to keep your code and your implementation nice and tight. The way it's read is much more elegant than the way that it used to be. So with the new file handles, you'll be able to do all of those things plus more. So this technology should cover the majority of those features for you. Again, there are a number of additional resources, on the knowledge base in the form of tech tips, as well as on the blog as well. They cover this topic. But if you download this tech note, you should have a much better idea about what's available and what's what you can do with the new implementation. Okay, so hopefully you guys will enjoy these two tech notes. And again, we have 2 more tech notes coming out this month. We are focused. We are trying to get it out by the next Monday. So hopefully you guys should have access to those soon as well. Okay, that's all from me, Brent. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ed. Yeah, I really want to second the highlight of the file handles tech note. There's a couple of real pro tips in there. One of them being that in previous versions of 4D, if you've opened a document and you don't close it, or if a process gets interrupted, then that document would remain locked until you had to restart 4D to unlock it. That's not so anymore. Once the process ends, if you've forgotten to close it or dispose of the document reference, it will free up the document itself. And then they also highlight some of the advantages of working with the new file handles objects, in that a lot of us have existing logic for reading through lines of a document. It seems like the simplest thing, but previously we had to say read up to a certain character or something like that, or so many characters, and so the new logic, the new file handle class has a little bit smoother functionality for that kind of thing. So definitely some reason to refactor older code that's using send packet and open document and all that kind of stuff with the new file handles. So great stuff. Thanks, Ed. And next, now we get to kick over to our big demo for today. Joining us again from Kansas, we have Tim Nevels here. He's the president of Innovative Solutions. Tim is a very active member of the 4D community and now qualifies for the frequent 4DMethod presenter card for the user group. Congratulations.
Thank you, Brett.
You'll find several other demos from Tim out there on the 4DMethod YouTube channel and on 4dmethod.com, including one on using dynamic forms, how to implement a worker queue monitor using storage, and building your own classes in 4D, which is just kind of quickly becoming the way that you do 4D. So really great early background on classes. And today, Tim is here to show us how easy it can be to integrate your app with a service out there, a cloud service like Twilio, in this case, for getting advanced messaging capabilities that Twilio makes available to you. So welcome, Tim, and thanks again for volunteering to share some useful code for us.
Thanks, Brent. Hi, everybody. I never planned on having so many presentations, but back in the late 80s, early 90s, there used to be things called Macintosh users groups. And there was one in Kansas City that I started going to learn how to do Mac things. And I later became on the board of directors and president. And every month we had a meeting and we had to find somebody to present something. So whenever Brent reaches out and says, oh, we need, we've got some open spaces, we need to fill these up, I know exactly where he's coming from because I did that for several years, finding somebody to come and talk and do a presentation every month for a users group. So that's why I have so many presentations, because I feel sorry for Brent when he's searching for somebody to present something.
Well, thank you for the sensitivity.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is going to be a very short presentation. I've only got a handful of methods to show. Let's do the screen share so you can see what I'm seeing. Let's pick this one. There we go. Okay. Rearrange this. Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. So this is I have a client that sends transactional text messages to people, as opposed to advertising, marketing type of, SMS text messages. And so I built a little system for them to be able to talk to their customers and carry on a conversation, send text messages, and get the replies to any of those text messages back, all within inside 4D. So let's start by just taking a look at some of the code. This is a very simple database, just got a handful of methods. Could easily be turned into a class.
I think you might have the wrong desktop shared.
Oh dear. Okay, well, then let me share the right desktop. Share. That desktop, share.
There we go. That looks better.
Can you see the 4D code now?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, so this could easily be turned into a class, but I pulled this code out of an existing database, which, and you can see it's written back in 2018, so that's why it looks like this. But very simple stuff. I just realized building this that this database only has a design environment, and when you start up this database, the on startup method runs when you jump right into design. I don't remember that happening before, but maybe it always did that. But anyway, this is just some basic setup work here to allow quitting the application, and then the init function creates a storage object with the three things you need to access a Twilio account. You need, of course, a phone number, and Twilio lets you choose a phone number with the area code of your choice, I guess, so that when people receive a message from a phone number, it looks like it's a local phone number. So when you create a Twilio account and you go to pick a phone number, you can pick the area code of your choice, and then you can select a phone number from that. You also need an account ID, and you need an auth token. And these are long-lasting auth tokens. They don't need to, they haven't done the refresh thing like you have to do with Dropboxes and some other APIs. But there's the basics. Okay, let's do a test. All right, so let's send a message. So I'm going to send a message to myself so I can reply to it. And you can, of course, have carriage returns in messages if you want. And messages have a limit of 1,600 characters. Okay, and Twilio will automatically break those down into 160 character messages. Okay, so it'll automatically build out the send multiple messages to send a 1,600 character message. All right, let's run code. Okay, so Oh, and by the way, I didn't create this in code blank slate. I just realized that this was code that I adapted from David Adams back an unknown time frame that used NTK. And I converted to use 4D's HTTP request command. So we got to strip out the bad control characters, but we're going to allow carriage returns. So that's a little utility method to do that. This is the object that gets sent back so you can see if there was an error or not. And also it gives you the SID value. That's a unique value. You want to save that because when if someone does reply to your text message, that SID is provided to you when you get messages, and then you can go look up this message and you can maintain a conversation. So that's what that's for. Okay, so let's keep going. There's not a whole lot here, guys, so we're just going to step through code because it's just a handful of lines. URLs here. Build some headers. A little bit of content from that's your phone number that you got from Twilio, who it's going to, and then the message, and then you do send a request, and the status came back 201, which is successful. Good. It then Twilio does they do dates weird. If you look at the date up here, you'll see that the date has a March is MAR. So that's what this little method does, is it goes in and it converts this into okay, what did I do? Oh, okay. I have accidentally broke my method. Save it. Okay. Let's try this again. Okay, let's go back and run this again. There we go. So this will give you a normal date timestamp value. By the way, the demo, the example code that I posted, obviously it's got that in there, a little finger slip for me. So when you run into that, you'll know how to fix it. Okay, so anyway, we sent a message and it was successful. I'll get my phone out, and there is the message I just sent to myself. Okay, so let's reply to it. So I'll say, hello, it's me. Oh, and by the way, you do not have to save your questions or comments to the end of the presentation. Please feel free to jump in at any time and ask questions and make comments. I don't have any problem with that. As a matter of fact, I encourage it. All right. So I have now sent, I've now made a reply to this. Okay. Let's go to the get messages method. And this was built to run as a stored procedure. And it basically, it's a one method thing. It calls itself and executes this. So let's run this. Let's get our message. Okay. I wait 3 minutes. When I start a stored procedure, I always wait 3 minutes. So in case the server starts up and then I realize, oh, I got a problem, I can quickly quit the server before any of the stored procedures. If I do it within 3 minutes, I can quit I can quit 4D server, and the stored procedures will all die because it'll check to see if they should that. Okay, let's go ahead and also with Twilio, you need to store the last update date timestamp. And that's your starting point. So whenever you ask Twilio for messages, you say, give me all the new messages since this date and time. So you need to store that, okay? And so that's what we're retrieving here. And then we're going to also set the next date timestamp to when we're working right now. Then I found a few cases where if you do this too quickly, sending messages back and forth, and you could have a little bit of, you could miss a message. So I just wait 10 seconds here just to make sure that we don't miss any edge cases. Okay, simple authentication. And we'll build up a request, and then we'll start repeating here because you get a message at a time. So let's run this. Okay, and well, we looks like we got some a request. Okay, so we got a message. So we look at the message object that Twilio provides back. Looks like this. We've got that ID, that account ID. We've got the SID. This is the important one. This is how you're going to look up if you want to attach this response to message that you sent. There's the direction. Is it inbound or outbound? And here's the body. Hello, it's me. Okay, and then all these things. And then here's the number of segments. So if this thing has been split up into a bunch of pieces, you're going to see, how many pieces, how many individual text messages were sent. Okay. That's basically it. It's not that complicated. The rest of this code is simply to update the database. So I've commented out, references to tables, but it gives you an idea of how I'm handling it. Check if I've already got the message. For some reason, maybe I want to reset my, get me all messages since this time frame. You could back that up a few hours or a few days, and then these messages will be retrieved again, but this will check to make sure that, well, we've already got the message, so skip on by. And that again is using the SID value. Then we go look for matching phone number. Then here we're attaching this message that we've received, connecting it back up to a record in a table. And then we save that new message. And then we check and see if we got more messages. So in the response, the next page URI, there isn't any. So we've retrieved all the messages. There's not any more to retrieve. So we're done instead of retrieving more messages. Now we need to go ahead and set that next update DTS, which we set up at the top so that we know we can move forward on the timeline. Unlock some records, then we delay for however long. Right now it's set to check once a minute, and the process repeats.
We have a question from Roger. If there are several pieces of a message, how does it appear to the recipient? I think it's just a series of text messages, right?
It can appear as a series of text messages, or it can appear all as one. It depends on if it's iPhone or Android. I'm not sure exactly the answer to that question. Test it, and you have to test it and see. Or we could run a test and here and see what it's like. I could make the message, big. So
this is nice because on one hand, the code is ought to be compatible with previous versions of 4D. There's it's not using, it could use the new HTTP client class and dot notation, but it doesn't necessarily do that. And so, this can also work if you're still working in V17, V18, or earlier versions of V19 or not.
This actually started in V14, so it'll work all the way back to V14, no problem.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see the new stuff, but it's also nice to have examples that you can use.
Yeah, so there you go, guys. There's the basic framework. Very simple code. I provide the code, take it, use it, can turn it into a class. It's public domain, free for that. Let's check the website out real quick and talk about a few things on the Twilio website. When you set up an account, I have a developer account, and you're going to want to do that, of course. And then whoever your clients are, they're going to use this. They're going to want to go in and create their own accounts and pay for these, because there's charges each month for this. And you can have multiple phone numbers. So I have a client that has 11 offices. So each office has their own phone number. And so they're all combined together into a single account. But here's those three things that we showed before. And like I said, they're long-term tokens, and they haven't moved to getting the have to refresh the tokens. Okay. Let's look at the monitor. Okay, this is the developer. If we click on monitor here, we can get in here and we can see all the messages for the phone number we're working on. So here is the message that we sent right here. And it shows you the message body. And then here is the response. So you can, as you're developing this, this is where you're going to come and watch and make sure that everything is working right. And you're able to send and receive messages and also have errors. There's a whole bunch of capabilities with Twilio to link into websites and web pages, which I'm not going to go into. But I've got an issue here with errors where it keeps telling me that it can't access a web page. But in my case, I don't need to do that, and so I just kind of ignore. Okay, there's that page. The pricing. Okay, what's this thing cost? This is all United States based. There's of course different pricing for different parts of the world, but basically it's 0.8 of a penny. So it's less than a penny per segment or per 160 characters. So if you send a text message that is 160 characters or less, it's going to cost you, less than a penny. Okay, send it and to receive it. You have to pay $1.15 per month per phone call. So there's a monthly charge on top of sending and receiving, and you can see they've got more options here for doing different things. Then that's the same pricing stuff. Okay. T-Mobile has an extra additional charge. And when I first started this, every carrier had different additional charges to add in. But now T-Mobile is the only one there's some additional charge, and I don't know what that is. Apparently, Twilio interfaces with these phone companies, and they've got to pay something to do that, and so they're passing on this extra charge. Okay, so there's your basic pricing. You can figure out how to do that. Now, to set up, okay, so that's the basic pricing there. Okay, I just got an email last week about something called A2P 10 DLC. Okay, that means application to person 10-digit long code. And what they're saying is that they are implementing something because people get so many spam text messages that you now are going to have to register your brand and provide in the US a tax ID number, an EIN number for your business in order to, for some carriers, they say they may block the messages from being sent if you don't do this. For other carriers, they may low prioritize the text message, so it may take more time for the person to actually receive the text message after you send it. This is just now started in January this year. Not sure why I didn't get the email message before that. Maybe I did, but I just skipped over it. But anyway, you have to set this up. So if you're doing transactional type of messages, you can set up one campaign. So you have to pay them $15, okay, and $4, and then each month it'll be $1.50. So there's an additional charge for this new campaign fee. So you've got that. There's also what they call the sole proprietor account. And this is kind of a developer type of a thing, or and that's what I'm going to set. That's what I'm going to set up for my developer account. I'm going to set this up, and it's only $2 a month. And you may be able to use that too for your clients. May be able to use that also to set this up. So this is a new thing. I haven't even set mine up yet. The sole proprietor starter type of thing is coming in April 17th. So I'll set that up once that's available. Then there can be some surcharges if you've registered or if you've not registered. So if you don't do any of this, it'll cost a little bit more. If you set up this A2P 10 DLC, if you set that up, you're going to get a little price break to do that.
Yeah, there's always a lot of pricing details when you're using services like this. It's a lot to consider, as far as volume and cost and whatnot. We had a question. So is there an option to use your own phone number, or do you have to put in a random one?
There sure is. There's an option in here to use your own phone number. I saw that on the web page, but I can't find it now. But yes, there is. There's a way that if you've got a cell phone number that you want to use, you can use that.
Oh, cool.
Oh, here it is. Use your existing phone number. If you do that, it only costs you 50 cents a month for that.
Now, a lot of this is based on the pricing, but for any of these APIs, there's always going to be probably on the developer tab there, the documentation for the API with other things that you can do. And Twilio has, since they became a thing, as Tim said, it's not just SMS and voice anymore. They've got a ridiculous amount of other services that you can also explore.
Yeah, we're only using the SMS part here. They also have a way you can do voice calls, and you can see there's many things you can do here. But all this is about is the SMS part, which is here. Right. And if you go in here, they give you the typical examples in Python, Ruby, JavaScript, and all those things. They don't have any curl examples. That usually, for me, is the easiest way to figure out how to convert some their API calls. If they have a curl example, that's helps in converting it into the authenticate and the headers, and then the request, in the body and everything.
Right. And it's just really, I think it's important to express or reinforce how well 4D with the HTTP libraries integrates with other services like this. If you're not familiar with this kind of code, it may look like a lot, but in the end, it can be reduced down to very few lines of code, unless you're actually handling full-on more complicated business logic. But the essence of it is leaning on other services for more complex messaging, or for whatever service that they're offering through their API.
There is last week at the 4D Happy Hour, Danny mentioned that he is sending text messages also, and he's using a different provider. He's not using Twilio. Very similar API. Danny, if you hear this, maybe you can mention the name of the people that you use to send text messages. I think it started with an E.
Somebody else.
It was also just a little bit cheaper than Twilio initially when we looked at the website. It looked like it was a little bit cheaper.
Yeah.
Fractions of a penny cheap.
And from a developer's perspective, I would say that not only is it quite easy to reach out and access these services, but it's also very easy to offer them yourself. So if there's something that any way that you can open up your app and your business to other people that can make use of the data one way or another, or make use of the service, it's 4D plays extremely well in the world of integration. And this is one way of being a customer, but you can also be the service supplier. It's fully capable in that regard. Any other questions or comments for Tim on this code? I'm sure there'll be more discussion about it in the happy hour this Friday. So that's not your last chance by any means. Doug said, I've used Clickatel for texting within 4D. Yeah, and somebody else on their iPad said, this is great. I'm gonna create a custom AI chat bot to follow up with clients after an inquiry. That's the big trend right now, right? The AI chat bots. So
if you go to the web, if you go to ChatGPT's website or OpenAI's website, they list out all the different engines and how you can upload a bunch of information and train ChatGPT. You can have it trained on your information. I think they mentioned Morgan Stanley uploaded their entire support database to chatbot, and so people can ask questions about support, and they've custom trained their ChatGPT session so that it works with the information that they have. I didn't know you could do that.
yeah, no, and there is ChatGPT APIs for some of their instances where you can connect and use some of the trained bots, presumably easily from 4D. Some might be thinking about that as a good idea for a summit presentation.
That's it, guys. Like I said, it's a short presentation because there's not a lot here. It's not that complicated. Send a message, receive messages back in. Pretty simple. And the uptime errors are very minimal. Maybe, oh boy, I don't know. I'd have to guess, but probably they may send 1,000 text messages a month, and they probably receive back maybe 1,000. Okay, and out of those, you can go many months without any kind of a problem. Every HTTP request is always fulfilled and comes right back. Although the code has got logic in there so that if it doesn't come back, error 0, how HTTP request, sometimes it just sets there forever, and then finally it'll come back with no status code. It'll just come back with the 48 error handler, error 0. Okay, well that's logic is in there too to catch that, and then you just try again later.
And it's really nice to see their administration panels there where you can see all of the logs, all of the traffic, all the counts, and all the information about the activity through the API, which most of these APIs do offer in some format or another. But I'm sure it is also quite easy to access those logs and display them from within your application.
Yep, there's an API for that too. If you want to suck all that stuff down, you can do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, in the spirit of keeping it short today, if no one else has any other comments, I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen again. Thanks again, Tim, for the demo code. Again, that code is available through a link in the 4DMethod post.
And that code will have that asterisk typo error in that conversion method. So when you run it the first time, you're going to have to fix that.
And if anybody wants to correct that for Tim and send it, I can put up a fresh version of the post, or perhaps we can put it up on the open source GitHub repository there. But anyways, yes, seconding everybody else in the chat there. Thanks, Tim. Just nice to see great use of 4D integrating out there with the world. That's integration oftentimes is the game changer for applications that we write. And yeah, any other questions for Tim? Otherwise, I've already mentioned about upcoming presentations. Any other questions, discussion, feedback is always appreciated, either through the 4DMethod site or through Discuss 4D. We have a dedicated post for this presentation, and we can always use some support through our Patreon at patreon.com/4DMethod. And thanks everyone out there who is a Patreon supporter of the user group. Yep. So thanks again, Tim, for another great presentation. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining and sharing it. Okay.